And how can we celebrate a gloomy Christmas and yet still remain happy and hopeful? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this special edition of The Chiefs. Joining me tonight is Economist Professor Emmanuel Leyco. Professor Leyco, good evening. Welcome to The Chiefs.
Good evening, Robbie. Thank you for having me back. Good to see you.
Of course. We can't end the year without having Merry Christmas to sa inyo.
Oh, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Despite what we are going through, I think we're still going to have a nice Christmas.
No, exactly. As you said, despite what we're going through, what we've been through, you say we still think. I certainly join you in that sentiment. We're gonna have a good Christmas. Tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang Pasko, kapatid, as we say over here. But tell us, an economist, how does an economist look at Christmas, especially Christmas 2020? How are you going to celebrate, and how do you look forward to 2021 from an economist perspective?
Well, economists should not view Christmas as an economist. Economists should view Christmas as an individual, as a person. Human beings. We really need this kind of a holiday. We really need to perk ourselves up and not worry about anything. And I think we just have to feel the spirit of Christmas. And for a moment, don't look back, look forward.
And when you look forward, I mean, yan naman ang tanong ng mga tao eh. Sige nga, what do we have to look forward to? I know we're starting from a rather low base, historically disrupted base, but that might give us some perspective. But what is there to look forward to?
Well, I'd like to view 2021 with guarded optimism, with guarded confidence. I think the base that we are coming from is not so good. We're coming from a double-digit dip, 16.5%, and now 11.5% decline in our economy, the worst in our recent economic history. And I think even the worst if we look at the economic history of the Philippines since the Second World War. So this is going to be a very, very challenging year. So when people are saying that we should look forward to a rebound, yes, I think everybody should look forward to a rebound, but where could that rebound come from? Consumption is not picking up that much. And I think we can understand why not. Remittances have dipped. And if you've been following the components of our economy, consumption is a major component of our economy. So if you want to see where our economy is going, just watch and look at how consumption is picking up. And it's not picking up overseas Filipinos' remittances, and it has not picked up. We did in April, May, June, July, but the pickup has not been enough to reverse that trend.
And we're taking that heading into, the first quarter of 2021 at the very least. People, they want to exit 2020 thinking that, well, things can only look up from here. I mean, we can only go up. Is that actually a fair statement, or can it actually get worse?
Well, I think it can go up now. I think we can look forward to us going up and going positive. However, would it be enough for us to recover? I think that will be a major challenge for us. I am looking at, ending the year, hopefully with a single-digit decline. Maybe 8% negative growth. And hopefully in January, we can pick up some more. But where could those pickups come from? If the overseas Filipino workers are coming home unemployed, without much cash, consumption may not pick up. And then if you're looking at the government picking up the tabs this time, I'm not sure how create or the reduction in corporate income tax would figure in this thing. The government has done a lot, giving ayuda, trying to spend so much, but then if the revenues are not coming in, where do we go? Tax revenues from corporations, the businesses, they've also slowed down. So where can government get the money? More borrowing? I think we're pushing our luck too much, too far, before our credit rating begins to get shaken. And once our credit rating is moved, it might be very, very expensive for the country to go out and borrow.
Has that window closed? I mean, I know that was a big debate during I mean COVID. I mean, record low interest rates. Now's the time to start borrowing and so on. Government was reluctant to do it. Has that window closed? I mean, especially we talked a lot about credit rating, taking advantage of that. Everybody was saying this is the time to use your credit rating. Didn't necessarily happen. Has that window closed?
Well, if we look at how the people and corporations use the low interest rates, if they were used for production, that is okay. But if they were used to refinance expensive debt, that is not good. That is not a productive debt. So would that result in productivity for the country? I don't think so. So they always say you cannot address the economic problems with just one hand. The monetary intervention is great, but it has to be also compensated or complemented by perhaps more government spending. But if the government is also getting challenged with where do you get the money? And the government already said that we really need to go up. So I think we might be losing that window where the lower interest rates, hopefully stimulating more productive activities from the economic sectors will pick up. I'm not sure. I think the numbers need to come in. How did our corporates, how did our individual households utilize credit? But remember,
to your point, I mean, they did not. I mean, they could have just restructured their debt. Did not necessarily plow this into capital expenditure. Is that what the data is saying, or is that theory at this point?
well, there are initial indications coming in that a number of our corporate borrowers have gone back to refinance just to replace expensive debts. Because last year, interest rates were like double what we are seeing now. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for you just to sit back, relax, and not do anything. If you're holding on to a 6% interest debt, and you can get 4%, it will not be wise for you to just sit around. So you really have to come in and take advantage of that. Did that stimulate economic activities? Maybe not.
Okay. So what is the entrepreneur or the enterprise or the investor waiting for to precisely use whatever they can access into to plow into capital expenditure, to invest more, to generate jobs? What are they waiting for?
Well, we need to see a vibrant market. We need to see more activities in the consumer market. More people are able to go to the shopping malls, for example, but they cannot. You go to a shopping mall and you crowd the mall, IATF will be on your back. You go to Divisoria, like right now, people are flocking to Divisoria. They cannot go to Divisoria like they used to. You can restaurants, I think they're doing well in terms of deliveries, but those are small activities in the economy. We need big time economic activities to lift us up. We need economic activities that will generate more jobs and jobs that will put money in people's pockets so that they can go back to the consumer markets. However, the minimum healthcare protocols will have to be observed. In malls, I think that will take time before it comes back or before it figures as a safe shopping activity. Right now, people, you go to the mall, if you see a crowd, you go home. If you are running into somebody, you stay away. If you walk towards somebody, and even with face masks, that's the social behavior of people right now. They're just staying away from each other. So, if we had not thought about how to deliver retail, how to deliver services, how to deliver products, by now, I think we will really be left out.
Two big things over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna vaccine, all of these clearances now in North America and Europe starting to get shipped worldwide. At the same time, this new news of a new strain in the UK has spooked everyone. Markets came down again. Do we have to wait for some finality or some very, very clear signal that the vaccines are working, that all countries have access to it, before a real momentum can take place?
Healthcare professionals have been saying, this is what I've been hearing from them, don't wait for the vaccine, because the vaccine is just one of the ways we can control this. Social behavior, healthcare behavior, your own healthcare situation, those are critical in controlling this pandemic. Stay healthy, eat healthy, do some physical exercise, but it's very difficult to do so. No? But that's what they've been saying. You need to reinforce, you need to strengthen yourself, you need to prepare for not only the COVID-19, but all kinds of illnesses. Stay healthy, whatever it takes.
Yeah, but all of that still, all of that defines things that we can do, things we can control, but it still defines the parameters of our constraints, and for that matter, the parameters and the limits of the economy, hindi po ba?
Yes. Those are things that we can control right now. The arrival of the vaccine may be beyond our control. It will take more time. We need to have resources. And right now, there seems to be a rationing. And those who are first on the line, they're the ones who are getting it. Unfortunately for us,
well, rationing is one way of putting it. Rationing is one way of putting it. Diba? I mean,
even in the US, even in the US, they're rationing vaccine.
No, granting good faith. I mean, I know what you mean. There's the rationing within the populations. People are a bit cynical when it comes to rationing between the rich countries who happen to develop this and the poorer countries who happen to have to wait in line. But it's an important question precisely because we're not just talking about the efficacy and the safety of these drugs. We're also access is equally important. What use is it to us if it's safe and efficacious if we don't have access to it? Which raises the question of where do you see the Philippines in all of this? I mean, people are wringing their hands and fretting na nahuli tayo sa pila and so on. However accurate or fair it is to frame that, the reality is we are not first in line. We are behind certain countries. Once we get it, it will come in, well, not naman trickles, but in a small proportion to our population first, and then hopefully later on, as production ramps up, that we get more access and so on. But assuming that we're 2 months, 3 months, a quarter or two behind, never mind the rest of the world, but let's say behind our neighbors, what does that mean for us?
Well, that means we should not hold our breath until it comes. That means we should now start taking our own precautions outside the vaccine formula. I think we've been okay. Social distancing works. Wearing facial mask is okay. Doing your washing, your disinfection, and so on, that works, and that's what they're saying. Even with the vaccine, you still need to do that because you can still get infected, may not necessarily be as sick without the vaccine, but we still have to do that. So right now, I think we have to be more active with those minimum healthcare protocols, but I think we need to have more testing and we need to have more quarantine stations that will, if we find somebody sick, that we can have community quarantine stations that are not like a lockdown, not like a prison. I think we need to live with COVID-19 for quite some time, and we just have to adjust. But if we do not make this kind of physical infrastructure for healthcare to address COVID-19, and if we are not able to distinguish who is sick and who is not, and put them in the proper place, COVID-19 will continue, and the fear of the people to move around will remain. Meanwhile, our production infrastructure continues to get stalled, and that's terrible for the economy. People will not die from COVID-19, but many people will die from starvation because right now there are hundreds of thousands without jobs. They came home and, it's just really, really sad right now. So I would think that Filipinos should not hold their breaths until the vaccine comes. We should continue, we should start moving around, but then for our businesses, for our government leaders, for our public policy leaders, we have to assure the people that we have a healthcare infrastructure that works. There is testing, there is quarantine, and if you get really, really sick, we have a hospital, a facility that you can go to. Meanwhile, workplace is getting adjusted. You don't need to come to work if you can work from home, but there are production areas that you need to be in the factories, in the workplace. So, but you have to adjust. You have to assume that the vaccine is not here, and COVID-19, the virus is right around the corner. So how do we work around COVID-19? I think should be the challenge we should be working on right now without the vaccine.
Okay. Other than managing our own expectations and trying to work with what we can control, let's try to look for silver linings, as it were. Is there anything in the infrastructure, in the ecosystem of our economy that you see really actually improved? That one, I mean, obviously communications is one thing. People's access to data, that really got a jump start and we had no choice. But I mean, including that, what areas in our systems did you see, well, at least we got that. These parts actually improved for the Philippines.
Right. I think information technology, just for once, people saw the importance, the significance of information technology. And because of IT, we are now able to do transactions. However, we are not doing it enough. People are not, if we go back to what percentage of our population has a bank account, people are saying only a fraction of our population has a bank account. So should we accelerate people getting access to banking institutions? Maybe we still need to go slow, but then I started to hear about proliferation of cash cards, electronic wallets. You don't need to have a bank account. You don't need to go through the KYC. If you are only handling an electronic wallet, a cash card that can be used to pay for your services, I think that's one. But it has not proliferated enough. That's one thing where you can control COVID-19 without a vaccine. Use technology. People don't need to contact each other. You don't need to handle anything. But it has not gone around enough. So I think that's one opportunity we can go to. Information technology, even in the overseas market, is the number one. It's at the center stage of this economic recovery right now. Filipinos abroad, our circuit design engineers, our computer engineers who graduated from our Philippine schools are working in the US, working in other parts of the world as circuit design engineers, software development applications. But I don't think it has really picked up enough. It's there, but it has not.
Okay. Hey, let's go back.
I will always look at information technology as our rising star, but we have not picked it up enough.
Related to which kanina we were talking about OFWs, let's talk about another pillar to our economy, BPOs. What has COVID done to our BPOs, and what prospects or threats has it given our BPO sector for 2021?
The BPO technology is one technology that can be transferred to other areas. The IT applications that they use for BPOs are now being used in many of the sectors now. However, the BPO that we are used to, the call centers of the world, they are being replaced. So right now, I think we need to mature, bring that BPO technology into maturity such that more artificial intelligence will be put in place without the person on the other end of the line answering the phones, but artificial intelligence in a way that our software applications engineer are able to adapt to the requirements of the technology that is currently being used right now. BPO, I think we are glad that it's here, but it's a technology that we need to transform.
Yes.
It's not going to stay the same way it has been. And,
it's being squeezed on two fronts. On the one hand, as you said, AI is a real threat. Automation of business processes is a big question and really causing a lot of anxiety worldwide. And then on the other hand, speaking of worldwide, another force is everybody's in recession. There's a big political pressure on the domestic front in every nation to bring back jobs and to onshore rather than to offshore. Are these two forces going to be something that we can cope with both in the short term and in the long term?
Well, I think people will, or countries will go back to where they have a comparative advantage. The U.S. has a comparative advantage in terms of the maturity of its financial infrastructure, the financial markets. But in terms of the backroom processing, the backroom technology, I think they are willing to concede that to other countries. And that is where I think Filipinos can come in. We have companies, we have finance research companies in the US doing their research, not necessarily in the US, but here in the Philippines or in Singapore or in India. I think we can scale them up. Research information does not know sovereign borders. You can do research about Wall Street from our rooms here in the Philippines because information is readily available there. financial market players in the US need information, the tips of their hands. They need that. So we can provide that. No? We can be the research arm of traders on Wall Street. We can be the research arm of financial markets somewhere else.
Okay. Now, iniisa-isa natin yung mga pillars, a lot of the things that we always ask about. Here's another, as we always used to say, one of the low-hanging fruits for the Philippine economy, tourism. Obviously, tourism also took the biggest hit in 2020. What are the prospects that you're seeing? Especially now na parang, fits and starts ang reopening. And even when we talk about reopening, we're talking about bubbles. Maybe we can do safe corridors and so on. Certainly, we're not lacking for experiments and innovation and courage. But we're still being held back by all of this uncertainty about vaccines, how long we're going to need to be inoculating people, 1 cycle, 2 cycles, and so on. Some people are saying, no, sa totoo lang, it will take maybe 2 years to fully inoculate the world. What does all of this mean for our tourism sector upon which we depend so much?
Right. I think the old kind of tourism that we used to have may not come back. However, healthcare tourism is probably something that can offer us more opportunities now. In terms of the healthcare costs in the US, in Europe, and somewhere else, healthcare costs in the country is very, very competitive. And our healthcare institutions, our healthcare professionals are very competitive. We have hospitals that are accredited by the Joint Commission for Hospital Accreditations in the US. So they are at par. At least there are 3 or 5 hospitals in the country who are accredited by the Joint Commission for the Accreditation of Hospitals. That means that our hospitals are at par with American hospitals. Our professionals are also at par with practicing healthcare professionals abroad. So I think our healthcare tourism can pick up more than the traditional healthcare the traditional tourism that we used to see. But also, there is such a thing now as telehealth. People can call in and consult or even have a reading. The x-rays are being read, they are being transmitted somewhere else. They can be read by professionals. Our healthcare institutions can also become part of that global healthcare network. So I think that's one area where we can figure in on a competitive basis. Our healthcare cost is very cheap compared to the healthcare costs in more advanced countries. Our hospitals, our institutions, our professionals are competitive enough. They are recognized. And if you see the first vaccine that was administered in the UK was done by a Filipina. I think that's testimony to how our healthcare professionals, the health sector in the Philippines, are also recognized.
Okay. Professor, one last sector, a smaller one, but quite matunog itong mga nakaraang taon, Pogo. Kanina binasa ko lang sa big story, about 300 Pogo workers were seen in NAIA, all headed out. And the larger story is that this is a common scene now. Every day, hundreds of Pogo workers exiting the country, obviously specifically headed back to China. Is this the end to the Pogo industry? And for that matter, should we even be hanging on?
Well, that is already an indication. There is an exodus of Pogo workers from the country. And that is sad because a number of our businesses relied on more Pogos coming in. In fact, prices of real estate properties went up because of the Pogos. Consumption went up because of the pogos. Shopping went up because of the pogos. But the pogo workers from China, they see our COVID infection continuing to go up, whereas in Wuhan, in Kobe, people are already walking around without a face mask. So why would they want to risk themselves staying here when they can already go home? So I think relying on the pogos to stay and to come back, I think we may be wasting our time now. It's sad for many.
But just as an yes, but just as an indicator, I'd like to understand. It indicates what? Is it about the public health situation, their confidence in the public health in the Philippines, or is it about the overall economic and, for that matter, political climate that is so that bears so much on the industry?
Well, I think it's a combination of a number of factors. Public health in the country is not as good as it is in China. Plus, I think the restrictions are coming down already or hitting them already. They are here because they cannot operate in China.
China.
Yeah, they could not. And we gave them an open section. Yes. So, but even China is already on their tracks. You are not allowed to operate here. You cannot operate anywhere. So, no, I think whereas before we used to have hot pandesal, Pogo was like a hot pandesal of our past. So let's continue looking for more entrepreneurial activities that will generate jobs locally, that will put our own workers in the forefront, their own expertise, their own capabilities, and circulate the benefits of the economic activities in the country first before we let them out. What has been happening was that we sent our overseas Filipino workers to earn dollars that they sent back. However, we imported more than what they sent, and therefore there is a net net exit or net use of the money that they brought in. They're all out. They're going out. There's not enough savings coming in.
Okay. Professor Emmanuel Leyco, always a pleasure, sir, to have you with us. Maraming salamat po. Uli, maligayang Pasko po.
Maligayang Pasko, Robbie, and maligayang Pasko sa lahat ng mga taga-subaybay, followers of our program. Thank you.
Okay. Maraming salamat po. We'll need to take a quick break. Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back. Welcome back, the Chiefs. We're now in the final stage of our conversation. With us is Dr. Benny Vicente, adult psychiatric consultant of the Philippine Mental Health Association. Dr. Vicente, welcome po to the Chiefs.
Welcome din sa mga viewers natin and to everybody's listening.
And sir, we've been talking about mental health all of this year, during this entire time of COVID and quarantines and so on. Pero ngayon magpapasko na. Maligayang Pasko po ba? I mean, what are our people feeling right now? Ano po bang mga napupulsuhan nyo dyan? Nakamute po yata yung audio nyo. Yan. Sige pa, naririnig ko pa.
Yan. Again.
Kamusta po ating mga kababayan?
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Vicente, can you hear me?
Hello. Wala, naggagarble yung mga sounds mo eh.
Okay. We'll try to take a break. We'll try to fix this technical issue with Dr. Vicente.
Ganda eh.
Please stay right there. The chiefs will be right back. We'll try to fix this. Hi, Doc. Hi, Doc, can you hear me? Doc, can you hear me? Narinig niyo po ako?
Hello. Garbled yung sound mo eh. While ago,
Okay.
ganda-ganda eh. Yung the previous program, I can hear it well. Ngayon,
Do you Welcome back to the Chiefs, and with us again is Dr. Benny Vicente. He is the adult psychiatric consultant of the Philippine Mental Health Association. Dr. Vicente, can you hear me now?
Hello. Yes. Medyo garbled again. Pero I'm receiving some of the information na you're introducing me. So,
Tapa.
pleasant good evening to everybody who's watching.
Tapa. Kayo naman po, malinaw na malinaw po kayo. So, malinaw po kayo.
Garble uli again eh.
Garble na naman. Okay. Ay, so, mahirap.
What's wrong? Kanina, ang ganda-ganda eh.
Wala po kayong earphones? Do you have earphones? It might help.
Wala kasi wala akong earphones eh. I'm using yung cellphone ko lang. Ayan.
Okay, ngayon, medyo okay. Hindi po ako gagalaw. Okay. I'll get straight to it. Kamusta po mga kababayan natin? Heading into this Christmas season, it's been a weird year. Kamusta po ba tayo?
Well, in terms yung mental health natin, no, there is an increase ng mga mental health problems, no, mental health disorder. Basically, along the line ng stress, no, there are a lot of people who are now stressed, no. You can say about 30% ng population natin. Tapos yung depression rate natin, now which is usually ang prevalence rate is about 5%. This has increased sixfold times, no? So nasa mga 30% na rin ang depression rate natin. And then the anxiety, mga anxiety disorder, tumaas to eh. No? So dati noon we have 14%, nag-double to. So right now sa Philippine Mental Health Association, we're seeing more cases ng depression and anxiety and the most common. Ganun din, there is a problem ngayon, nagkaroon tayong problema kasi most of the psychiatrists are not doing face-to-face consultation. So tele-psychiatry ang ginagawa ngayon ng most often. And it's a little bit slow, mas mabagal ng kaunti, so hindi masyadong marami nakikita. And ang mahirap dito, what we can reach are the people who are at least techie, nakakaintindi sila ng sistema, pero sa mga provinces, mas mahirap, no. The advantage is probably ngayon with telepsychiatry, mas mahaba ang reach kasi we at the PMHA get to see mga Filipinos even overseas, nakikita namin yan. Especially, we had a program na reaching yung mga frontliners kasi one of the targets natin, mga frontliners. So, frontliners in UK, frontliners in somewhere in Australia, no, they can consult us, pwede yun, no. So by many kinds of platform, where you can be on Messenger, you can be on Viber, you can explain, no, yan. So, ganun yung sistema natin ngayon.
Pero sir, I mean, technology is wonderful, as you said. It sort widens the but when you mention doubling in anxiety, 6 times sa depression, inevitably short-handed kayo.
Oh yes, if you count yung psychiatrists sa Pilipinas, no, we're maybe a little over 600. And most of the psychiatrists are basically in Metro Manila, in Metro Province, like Metro Cebu, Davao, no. Pero yung far-flung provinces, no, makaisa, minsan wala pa. So, it's difficult, no. But I've said nga, kung technology-wise, no, so we can reach them now. No? Kanya lang, ang marireach mo, yung mga medyo techy na patients, no?
Yes.
But marami rin naman through cellphone lang, no? So yung only call, no, is very good, no? But you will have to contend with seeing patients na after 12 minutes ng conversation, mamamatay kayo. You call again, no? Then after 12 minutes, mamamatay na naman, no? Ganun yung And we are also grateful din kasi naging lax ang Department of Health and DDB, no. It's now allowed to prescribe yung tinatawag nating e-prescription, no, wherein you can write the prescription in your office, take a picture of it, send it through sa email nung patient mo, and this one naman nasa cellphone niya, they can show it to the pharmacy and the pharmacy will honor it, no. Yan ang ganda na, so no need na to get the prescription.
So official policy, official protocol na po yan. I actually did that one time. I got a prescription over Viber. Pinakita ko lang yung Viber ko, okay na yun.
Yes.
Okay.
And it includes also yung even for the psychiatrists kasi sometimes we prescribe yung mga regulated drugs allowed to ng DDB and DOH. Binigyan kami ng permission.
Now, sir, of course, pinag-usapan natin to heading into Christmas. We're already in Christmas season. What do you expect? Does Christmas usually uplift us, or do we expect, this backdrop to ironically make even heighten the anxiety and the depression?
Well, ang Christmas is an added stress for people. Stressful yung if you will count yung mga stressors mo, no, you should include yung the holiday season as part of your stressor.
Mm.
We're expecting then because of the situation, hindi masyadong makagalaw ang tao, no, and there is still fear, no, na baka ma-infect, magkaroon kayo magkahawa-hawan. The holiday season will not be uh, as much enjoyable siguro because hindi kayo magkasama-sama eh, no. uh, I've heard some people na who will be spending the holiday season, may Zoom sila sa Zoom through Zoom.
Yes.
But that's for that's for those who can afford, no. Pero for people who cannot afford, no, hindi ganun ang mangyayari, no. So
yung tinatawag po na
spending Christmas alone eh.
So yung tinatawag, I mean, COVID notwithstanding, even if we were to take away COVID, so yung tinatawag po na holiday blues, that's a real phenomenon?
Yeah, that's true. No.
Okay.
Especially loneliness can be stressful.
So I guess one question is, short of further overwhelming the few psychiatrists that we have around the country, what else can we do for ourselves? What can we do for each other? At least for our immediate family, for our immediate circle of closest friends, what can we do for each other?
Well, one is not to infect one another. That's a real issue. So the wearing of the mask, no, social distancing is very important. No. Two, things which you can control sa sarili mo would be ang labanan kasi is to obtain a health status which is what you call positive. So you don't just contend with being having freedom from illness, no. You want not only good health, better health, but what you call the best health possible. So kasi if you get the best health possible, yung outcome nun is that one, or of course yung longer life, less ang health cost mo, no, and then better prognosis if you get sick, no. Okay, and then better mental health on aging. Yan ang if you maintaining a very positive health, no, yun ang mo. And yung positive health, if ever you get COVID infection, chances are mas magandang outcome mo, no. So we all know na if you have other problems, like for example, meron kang cardiovascular problem, you have pulmonary problem, hypertension, diabetes, especially if uncontrolled yan. If you get COVID, mas mataas yung fatality rate mo. Mas mataas.
Okay.
So it's all about building immunity, a better immunity, or building some sort of resilience against yung COVID infection. And these are all within our control, no? So the most common naman na nangyayari ngayon with COVID is a chronic stressor yan eh. Chronic stressor. No, it's not well, it is an acute stressor for some, like for example, yung mga frontliners natin, when the COVID strike, no, na-overwhelm sila sa mga hospital, there are many cases they see patients dying left and right, no. Acute ito, no, and it can be traumatic for many of them, no. We're seeing a lot of the frontliners not being given an opportunity to talk about their experiences, and they have to continue on working, no, their shift, no. And sometimes we get them, they consult us. Ang one of the striking symptoms is nightmares. They sometimes have nightmares, no. And for the frontliners natin, basically what we're seeing is yung fear not only of them getting sick, but them contaminating their families. Pag-uwi nila. So, you see people, yung mga healthcare workers, no, yes, they go home, but they are isolated from the rest of the family. Meron mga kami cases, alam namin, pagdating sa bahay, ang ritual niya is nagpagawa na ng shower dun sa garage. So, first thing, that he does, no, pagkalabas niya ng kotse is to take a bath before going up the rooms. And at the same time, yung pagkain, they separate sila. No? It's because of that fear that they might contaminate yung relatives nila, especially kung meron. But for many of us na, let's say na hindi ka frontliners, no, COVID is going to be a chronic stressor. And we know it's going to stay for a long time, no? Baka hindi na, we have to live with it, no? And ang chronic stress, no, it's well known that ang chronic stress can cause a lot of health problems, no? So, we know lahat yan, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, it can lower your immunity, no? You can have allergic reactions and so forth and so on, and this is because of chronic stress. So it's important nowadays, no, not only to know yung the stress that you're getting from COVID, but the other stresses in life that you have, and this is well within your control. Kasi ang formula to get sick is you have certain vulnerabilities, and then nadagdagan ng stress, then you have a disorder. Some of the vulnerabilities, pwede mong hindi makontrol yan. Like for example, ang vulnerability mo is a genetic predisposition to develop a certain disorder. Pero pwedeng hindi mag-manifest yun kung hindi ka mai-stress to a point na cause the disorder. No? So yung stress, it is within our control yan. So
I mean, what exactly does that mean? I mean, when you say that yung stress it's within our control, how do I? Kasi that's my question. How do we lessen stress for each other? How do I lessen stress for myself? Do I just decide, oh, snap out of it? I mean, what can I do for myself, and what can we do for each other?
So example ng stress that COVID has done, no? Especially the first few months nung COVID natin, no? You were bombarded with COVID news every hour on the hour, no? You have a choice. Pwede mong ilimit yan. So time management is a good strategy to manage yung stress mo. Limiting yung exposure mo dun sa
I think we may have lost Dr.
No?
Okay.
Yan. Within your control yan eh. Kasi yung iba, the cases that bombarded sila ng stress eh. It's so scary. Nakakatakot na lahat.
So in a way,
false news pa. No? Pangalawa, what has COVID done? COVID has disturbed yung nagkaroon ka ng work from home situation.
Yeah.
Yung work from home situation, marami yung bio-clock na bago dun sa tao. When people were regularly waking up, let's say, at around 5 in the morning, and then they start to prepare the meals ng children nila who will go to the school. Ngayon, all of a sudden, the children are not going to go to school, and then hindi rin sila allowed to report for work, stay home, work from home ka, walang time. So, na-blur na yung distinction ng this is office, this is work. Natsira yun eh. So, there are many people na even yung sleep nila was disturbed because of that change ng schedule na yun. So, again, this is within your control. You can choose to even if you're at home, you can choose to again reschedule to make
in other words, Dr. Vicente, if I'm hearing you right, kasi tayo, we blame everything now on COVID. Parang nasa-stress ako dahil sa COVID. But actually what you're saying, even under the entire fame and the entire reality of COVID, you should be able to identify na within that there are actions that you can still control, like bawasan mo yung social media mo, time management, and so on.
So like for example, time management will include coming up with a specific time you would sleep. Kasi sleep is 1/3 of your life. No? 1/3 of your life. So, yan marami dyan. Yung people who are not able to sleep for 3 to 4 days na hindi nakakatulog, no? It can cause or can trigger depression, no?
Okay.
In cases, anxiety tumataas and even cause panic. We've seen that, eh. So,
Okay.
you're able to specify that time you're going to sleep, no? Or you specify a time when you're going to relax, that will be good. Nasa control mo yan. Now,
Okay.
hindi mawawala sa managing ng stress always for any kind of disorder, whether it's cardiovascular, diabetes, o a mental disorder, no? Hindi nawawala yung always i-prescribe sa'yo diet and exercise. It is always nandun yan. So sa diet, no, you will be taught yung good nutrition, no. So ngayon, what we're seeing are people na for the first time, no, marami ngayon naniniwala sa vitamins, no. Vitamins, no. So you're seeing vitamin D is very very important, no, to boost your immunity pala.
Okay.
So people take vitamins, no.
So the point is
But vitamin D is actually sunlight, no.
that's right. And
Your body will convert some of the fats into vitamin D, which is very important. We're now seeing that it's important that meron kang zinc, no? You have in your vitamins kasi it has been published na zinc is one of the vitamins that prevent yung replication nung virus, no? So very important, and we know that zinc is stored ng body. So vitamin.
So that's the point being, sir. Kahit na marami tayong hindi nakokontrol, we still remember the things that we can control. Among other things, as you pointed, good diet, good habits, taking care of each other, looking out for each other. Unfortunately, we run out. Unfortunately, we run out of time.
Importante rin is yung which COVID has changed is yung social support. Yan ang na-disturb ng COVID sa atin. So in all our disaster, pag meron tayong mga disaster, meron tayong mga problem, we always try to keep the family intact. Sama-sama yan. Even pagka evacuation center, magsasama kayo, mga pamilya, magkasama-sama. Pagka nagkaiwa-iwalay, try to find mga relatives together. Dito ngayon sa situation natin sa COVID, no, with social distancing, isolation, yung social support became a very, very important problem. So people who are saying di na nila makikita, walang social support, no, and that adds up to the problem. So meron pang technology. So one of the advice is that is very helpful is stay connected. Huwag kang mag-withdraw. Stay connected in whatever way you can through cell phone.
Okay. Dr. Benny Vicente, loud and clear, stay connected, something that will help all of us to have a Merry Christmas, a better Christmas, and help us through these difficult days. Maraming salamat po, Dr. Benny Vicente, Adult Psychiatric Consultant of the Philippine Mental Health Association. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We'd like to thank you for joining us, and we do hope that this conversation we can all keep going. I'm Robbie Alampay, and we are One News.